Welcome to the It Girl Podcast, where we discuss living life like the It Girl. Our host, Erica Passy, brings on different guests to talk about their perspectives on all things It Girl lifestyle. She covers topics such as wellness, fashion, travel, and current It Girl trends. And now your host, Erica.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the It Girl Podcast. This is made possible by CLU and their recording studio, and I'm just so happy to be back. Today's episode, honestly, is for anyone who is maybe going through a transitionary period in their lives. Maybe you're graduating high school and you're moving away to college. Maybe you're graduating college like I am and you're moving out into the big adult world. You can be going through anything though. You can be just moving in general. You could be maybe going on an extended trip. Maybe you're just changing jobs or you're changing schools. Anything like that. This one is for you. And so today I'm going to be talking about my own experiences with changing up my own environment and how I transitioned through that. So back in August 2020, I moved across the country to California for school. I moved out here for CalU, and previously I had lived in a smaller area of Houston, Texas, and so I had lived there for about 14 years of my life. I basically grew up there. That's all I can really remember. And so it was definitely tough. There are tough parts to moving, and so that's part of what I'm going to be talking about today. All the different struggles I encountered, but how I kind of got through some of those. And so it was really tough leaving friends and being in a somewhat foreign place. I mean, I had visited this area a few times because I have family that lives out here, and I would explore around LA when we would go to like Disneyland and Universal, and we saw a few of the touristy areas, and then we obviously stayed here in Thousand Oaks with my family. But it was still hard because even though it was a little bit more familiar than just like going somewhere you completely have never seen, it was still really foreign. And it was also hard to make the transition from high school to college. I think these days, anyone who has to make one of these moves still has it a lot easier, though, than I did or anyone else did back in 2020 because we were living in the pandemic at the time. That definitely put a huge hitch in my plans. It was so hard to make any kind of connections or establish yourself anywhere because of the pandemic. And so I'm going to talk first about some of the toughest parts of going through one of these periods in your life. It was so hard having to try to figure out like how to make new friends. During COVID, we didn't really have any outlets for making friends because all of our classes were on Zoom. People were spread out across the country when it came to college because people would just take their classes from whatever was home for them. A lot of people didn't actually move out yet to campus at the time. With high school, it's a little bit different because you'll still be in your same like hometown, you'll be able to stick with your own friends. But for someone who was transitioning into college, that was a really, really tough situation. I think for anyone right now who is going from high school to college, some of your best bets for making friends are definitely like just making friends in classes, going out on campus, joining clubs, like doing all that. Maybe even like going to the parties that are on camp or like, that are associated with your school, not on campus, but yeah, that. I think it's a lot easier now these days, but it's all about being like motivated to actually make friends and like going out, putting yourself out there. The other thing that was super hard was trying to discover places to hang out or just to go. I honestly would spend multiple days just driving out around LA, trying to find a bunch of cool spots. I would drive out to Malibu to, visit a bunch of cool spots. I would try different restaurants and dessert spots and all this kind of stuff. And also, if thinking about campus, you kind of just have to walk around your campus to be able to explore a lot of the different places. I feel like I didn't really truly start doing this until sophomore year with my roommate at the time. We would just like walk around campus sometimes just to be able to like figure out where was everything, because at the time there were no campus tours or anything because of COVID, so we had to just explore on our own. And honestly, that can sometimes be the best way to find different places. Also, another difficult part of it is essentially just being alone. Being alone, like, in its, like, as its own topic, it can be really hard. But I have another podcast where I'll be talking about how to essentially be alone. So you should go definitely check that out, because that one goes a lot more in depth about it. But that one was definitely a tough one to get past. Then figuring out also how to function on a college level rather than a high school level. This, I think, was definitely amplified by the pandemic, because when the pandemic first started, we were in high school, and I don't believe we really like finished out any of our classes. And so then going to college and having not really done school for a few months, it was a little bit hard to be motivated. But I'm going to have another podcast also about motivation and how to stay motivated in college, so go check that one out. But definitely like figuring that out, I expected college to be way harder than it was. I think it all varies based on what school you go to, but honestly, like, going from high school level courses to college level courses, it depends on which course you're taking. It can be really confusing, but some of like the basic gen eds, like those are so easy to just get down. It's like your high school courses, so don't worry about those. But when it comes to more of the specific courses that you might take, like maybe a philosophy course or like a certain accounting class, I don't know, something like that, those definitely are really hard, and it's just a matter of reaching out to your professor to get the resources and the help that you need. Maybe you need a tutor. It's all just about that. And so next I'm going to talk about how you can alleviate some of the pains of moving. So as I already talked about, I would honestly just drive and learn about different areas. So in LA, the areas where I live, the restaurants near me, I would just do that. When it came to friends, I honestly, this is going to sound really weird, but I hopped on Tinder, Bumble, Bumble BFF, etc., like all the dating apps, and that's how I started making friends and like talking to people and learning about different places to also go visit. And because of this, so through Bumble BFF, I like met some of the people on campus who were already here. I met a lot of the people who are locally here. And it doesn't always have to be about dating or, you know, like hooking up how like Tinder is normally. You can just be making friends, and then these people will introduce you to other people. In my case, through Tinder, I did meet my current boyfriend, but then through him, he actually goes to Kalu, and so through him, I was able to go to some of the parties that were happening, and, you know, I would meet then a bunch more people on campus, and then that's how I started to initially make friends, and that is just the best way. I would also say get a job, and this sounds so like parental or like so, I don't know, like boomer, like get a job, but honestly, like getting a job is how I made some of my best like favorite friends. My coworkers were some of like the funniest people, and they were so my vibe, because it was so hard trying to find someone who's my vibe when I was transitioning from like Houston vibe to LA vibe. And through work, you can find some more of like the genuine people, I feel like, other than like the people at your school who might be like really fake, you know? And so definitely like one of my biggest tips is to just get a job, and then that way you're also occupying some of your time, you don't feel so lonely, and you're making money, of course. Lastly, I kind of just want to like talk about, does it ever get better? I think it definitely depends on where you go and the type of person that you are. For me, I would say I did make some good, genuine friends. I did learn a lot about the surrounding areas, and now I know exactly where I want to go, exactly where I want to hang out. Social media also helped. If you're in a big metropolitan area, you just look up on TikTok like places to go in LA, places to go in New York, places to go in, I don't know, Houston, Austin, wherever you are. But it did take a while. You just have to be patient. After a few years, you'll be able to kind of feel out who your good, trustworthy friends are. I did get accommodated to my surroundings though, and I feel comfortable here now. Even if you can't make friends though, you can become super independent, and that is honestly a key trait for life. You want to be a super independent person. And so it really does help. Being alone makes you independent, and we talk about that in the other podcast. And then you can always just keep in mind your old friends can always visit you. I had my old friends visit me a few times here in LA, and it's really great. It is fun, and you can always go back and visit them and have a good time. You're never truly alone, okay? So in future episodes, we are going to wrap this one up right now, but in my future episodes, we will be talking about all the other It Girl topics, as you know. You can find all of my past and future episodes at the link in my Instagram bio. You can also find me on TikTok. Both are ERIIKA.3. You can go to the link in my bio, click the third tab. That'll take you to my Mixcloud. And then you can also find me on YouTube, where you'll be able to see the recording of this episode at the It Girl Podcast channel. And so thank you everyone for listening today, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the It Girl Podcast, a production of the CLU podcasting class. We appreciate all of your support and would love it if you would reach out to Erica on all social media platforms. You can find her on Instagram and TikTok at ERIIKA.3. Reach out and let her know what you would like to hear about next, or send in ideas for current trends you would like her to discuss. Thanks again. Look forward to talking to y'all next time.